You're here because you want to get right to the heart of things quickly, but thoroughly, too. You want to understand more without feeling totally overwhelmed.
And today, we're doing just that. We're diving deep into some really fascinating ancient texts.
Yeah, we've got passages from the book of Acts, the Psalms, and also the Gospel of John.
It's quite a mix. We have this historical account, detailing the early church facing challenges.
Right.
And these really personal expressions of faith and trust from the Psalms.
And that powerful story about, well, unexpected provision in John.
Exactly.
So our mission, let's say, for this deep dive is to pull out those key insights about faith, trust, how to handle challenges, things that honestly still resonate today.
Connect those ancient words to your life right now.
Okay, let's get into it. Let's start with Acts chapter 5, right? A really compelling situation.
Yes, Acts 5 gives us this glimpse into the early movement hitting some serious resistance. And a key figure pops up, Gamaliel.
Gamaliel. Remind us who he was.
He was a Pharisee, a really highly respected teacher of the law, very influential.
Okay.
So the council is trying to figure out what to do about these apostles, these followers of Jesus. And Gamaliel steps in with some, well, pretty measured advice.
He basically tells them to pause, doesn't he? Like, hold on a minute, let's think this through.
Precisely. His argument is, look, if this whole thing is just human-made,
it'll fail on its own.
Right. It'll just fizzle out. Like other movements they'd seen before, he even names a couple.
Yeah, he mentions Theudas and Judas the Galilean.
Exactly. People who gathered followers, caused a stir, but then nothing lasting.
So Gamaliel's logic is pragmatic almost.
Very much so.
Yeah.
He says, if this plan or this undertaking is of men, it will fail. But if it is of God, you will not be able to overthrow them. It's this kind of long view perspective.
Let time tell, essentially.
Yeah, suggesting that if it's genuine, if it's from God, you actually can't stop it anyway.
So his advice is pretty straightforward. Keep away from these men and let them alone.
A call for caution, maybe, an observation. See how it plays out.
But here's the thing. The council sort of listens, but not entirely, right? Okay. What happens next is quite revealing about the apostles themselves.
Right, they do take his advice. In part, they don't kill the apostles.
Yeah.
But they don't just let them walk away untouched either.
Yo.
They bring them in, have them flogged, beaten.
Ouch.
And strictly order them again. Stop speaking in the name of Jesus.
But their reaction, that's what's really striking.
It's incredible. The text says they left the council rejoicing that they were counted worthy to suffer dishonor for the name.
Rejoicing after being beaten.
Yes. And it didn't stop them. They went right back to teaching and proclaiming their message. Day after day, relentlessly.
Wow. So thinking about Gamaliel's approach and then the apostles' response,
yeah.
What are the takeaways for us, you think?
Well, Gamaliel offers this interesting way to evaluate things, doesn't he? New ideas, movements, maybe even things in our own lives.
It's not just waiting, is it? It's more like observing the quality of something over time. Does it last? Does it have substance?
Exactly. Does it build something real? Or is it just, noise? That seems to be the underlying question Gamaliel pushes us towards. It encourages a kind of thoughtful discernment.
That's a really useful way to think about it, taking that broader view.
And then you have the apostles. Their reaction just highlights the incredible strength that comes from deep conviction.
Yeah, facing real hardship, physical pain, opposition. But their inner state was joy and determination.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it, for you listening? When you encounter new ideas, or maybe face pushback for what you believe, how do you figure out what's truly significant? And where do you find that inner resilience?
Good questions. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Let's turn to Psalm 145.
Yes.
There's a line there, verse 15. The eyes of all look to you, and you give them their food at the proper time. It's so simple, so direct, just pure trust.
It is. And what's interesting is how the reflection piece we looked at expands on that simple idea.
How?
It points out that this provision, it's not just about physical food, like bread on the table. It includes spiritual needs, too. There's this feeling of total care covering, every part of our being.
That makes sense. And I was struck by the idea of multiplication, that God can take something small, something that feels totally inadequate.
And do something big with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a powerful theme.
It really makes you think, doesn't it, about times when you feel like, I just don't have enough time, enough energy, enough resources.
Absolutely. And the reflection encourages us to, offer what we do have, even if it feels tiny or insignificant.
Offer it with trust.
Yes. Trusting that a power greater than us can use it, can multiply it. It links right into prayer, actually presenting our limited stuff with faith.
So it's about changing how we see things, moving from a feeling of lack to recognizing potential.
Potential for abundance,
Yeah.
through trust.
The question posed there really sticks with you. What simple gift or resource can you offer today, trusting him to use it for good?
That's a challenging question.
It is. It makes you pause and consider, what am I holding back because I think it's too small, too unimportant?
We all do that sometimes, I think. We underestimate our own small contributions.
Totally. I remember feeling that way about like a tiny suggestion in a big meeting once, but it actually sparked the solution. That feeling of not enough is so common.
And connecting it back, the point is that our contributions, however small they seem on their own, can become part of something much bigger when offered with that trust.
Okay, so that's Psalm 145, trust and provision. Now, Psalm 27, it also talks about trust, but maybe from a different angle, more about inner strength.
Yes, exactly. Psalm 27 dives into resilience, finding strength when things feel shaky. The opening lines just hit you. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear?
Wow, yeah. Powerful start.
The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid?
It's such a bold declaration, isn't it? Not just wishful thinking, but stating it as fact.
Absolutely. The writer isn't just hoping for safety. They're claiming it. Their light, their salvation, their fortress, it's all found in one source.
And that question, whom shall I fear? Or of whom shall I be afraid? It's almost rhetorical, like a challenge to fear itself.
It really is. And then verse 4, it expresses this deep, deep longing.
What does it say?
One thing have I asked of the Lord, that will I seek after, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life.
Dwell in God's house.
To behold the beauty of the Lord and to inquire in his temple. It's not asking for stuff, not wealth or status.
No, it's about closeness, presence, understanding.
Exactly. That fundamental human need for connection, for belonging to something bigger. It's right there.
And how does the song wrap up? I remember there's something about waiting.
Yes. Verses 13 and 14, it ends on this note of determined hope. I believe that I shall see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living.
Holding on to hope even when things are tough.
Right. And then the call. Wait for the Lord, be strong, and let your heart take courage. Yes, wait for the Lord.
Or that wait for the Lord part. That can be the hardest part sometimes, can't it?
Oh, definitely. Patience isn't easy. But notice it's not passive waiting. It's paired with be strong, take courage.
So it's an active waiting. Holding on, staying strong while you wait.
I think so. It's about maintaining that inner belief, that inner strength, that resilience, even when the goodness isn't immediately obvious.
This psalm really speaks to that need we all have for deep down strength, doesn't it? The kind that helps you navigate uncertainty with hope instead of just fear.
It really does. It points towards a security that isn't based on our external circumstances, which, let's face it, are always changing.
But on something constant, reliable.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've seen Gamaliel's discernment, trust and provision from Psalm 145, inner strength from Psalm 27. Now let's turn to John's Gospel, chapter 6.
The feeding of the 5,000. Very famous story.
And it ties in so well with that theme of provision we saw in Psalm 145, but maybe in a more narrative way.
Absolutely. It's a story packed with insights about provision, trust, and unexpected abundance.
So set the scene for us. Where are we?
We're by the Sea of Galilee. Jesus is there, and there's this huge crowd following him, drawn by the miracles, the signs he'd been doing.
And the time of year is significant.
Yes. John tells us the Passover feast was near, which is itself a festival deeply connected to remembering God's provision and liberation for Israel in the past.
Okay, so that context is important.
Very. So Jesus sees this massive crowd, thousands of people, and he turns to Philip, one of his disciples, and asks a question.
What does he ask?
Where are we to buy bread so that these people may eat?
And John gives us a little aside there, doesn't he?
He does. John clarifies that Jesus asked this to test Philip, because Jesus himself already knew what he was going to do.
So it's a test of faith or perspective.
Seems like it. And Philip's answer is completely practical, totally grounded in their reality.
What does he say? Something about money.
Yeah, he basically says, look, even if we had 200 denarii, which was a huge amount of money, like months of wages,
right,
it wouldn't be enough to give everyone even a tiny bite. He sees the problem purely in human terms, and it looks impossible.
Totally understandable reaction.
Then another disciple, Andrew, speaks up. He's found something.
The boy with the loaves and fish.
That's the one. Andrew says, there is a boy here who has 5 barley loaves and 2 fish. Barley loaves, mind you, the food of the poor. Really basic stuff.
5 loaves and 2 fish for thousands of people.
Exactly. And Andrew immediately adds, but what are they among so many?
That same feeling of not enough we talked about earlier, it just seems ridiculously inadequate.
It's such a natural human response, isn't it? You look at the need, you look at your resources, and you think, this is pointless.
But Jesus doesn't see it that way. What does he do?
He takes charge. He tells the disciples to have everyone sit down. John adds this detail. There was much grass in the place, a little touch that makes it vivid.
Okay, so everyone's seated, waiting.
Then Jesus takes the loaves, and this is crucial. He gives thanks.
He acknowledges the source even before the miracle happens.
Exactly. Gratitude. Then he distributes the bread and the fish too, as much as they wanted. Everyone ate until they were full. Satisfied.
5,000 men plus women and children probably. All fed.
All fed. But the story isn't even over yet.
Right, the leftovers.
Jesus tells them, gather up the leftover fragments that nothing may be lost.
And they collect.
12 baskets full of broken pieces of the barley loaf.
12 baskets from just 5 loaves and 2 fish.
The abundance is just staggering. From utter scarcity to overflowing abundance. That number 12 is probably significant too, maybe hinting at the 12 tribes of Israel, like provision for everyone.
Wow. And how do the people react to all this?
They are amazed. They recognize this as a massive sign. They declare, this is indeed the prophet who is to come into the world.
They get who he is, on some level.
Yes, but then they try to take him by force to make him king.
They see the power, but maybe misunderstand the purpose.
Seems that way.
Yep.
And Jesus, knowing their intentions, withdraws. He slips away from them up into the mountain by himself.
That detail feels important too. His mission wasn't about earthly kingship.
Precisely. It underscores that his purpose was something different, something deeper.
So for you listening, what's the big takeaway from this incredible story?
I think it comes back to that potential within the small offering. Andrew's question, what are they among so many, gets this overwhelming answer.
It's about trusting that what little you have when offered with faith, maybe with that element of giving thanks that Jesus modeled,
It can be used in ways you can't even imagine. That scarcity doesn't have the last word.
Right. Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, we've seen these themes weaving together, haven't we?
Definitely. From Acts, we get Gamaliel's wisdom about discernment, about watching things over time, and the apostles' example of finding strength in opposition.
Then from Psalm 145, that bedrock trust and provision for all our needs, spiritual and physical, and the power of small offerings.
Psalm 27 gives us that focus on inner strength, courage, finding our stronghold, and holding on to hope while we wait.
And finally, John 6 shows us this dramatic picture of abundance exploding from scarcity, reinforcing that trust in unexpected provision.
So maybe a final thought for you to take away. Consider a challenge you're facing right now, or just a situation in your life.
How might these principles we talked about, trust, faith, discernment, the potential hidden in small things, offer you a new perspective, maybe a different way forward?
And maybe revisit that question from the reflection on Psalm 145. What simple gift, what small resource can you offer today?
Trusting that it could be used for good in ways you might not expect.
Something to really reflect on.